Hello, welcome back. What should we do today? I know. Let's do something with the Night Hag. Do some more monster rebuilding, building, fixing, whatever you want to call it. And a witch is as good as anything. So we're going to do some witchy poo stuff for today. I have been working my way through, I guess, the creatures or monsters that I think that most people are going to use as big bads at some point, if you hadn't figured it out. That's really what I've been doing recently. And so I'm going to go with that same theme, that same approach, and try to make sure that you can do it yourself if you don't like what I do, which is why I'm live streaming it. I'll put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll. Also, too, look, if you want to, I would suggest grabbing some food, some drink, get your brain ticking, have a think about the sorts of things that you would like to have seen done with the Night Hag. I'm going to give you my 2 cents about how it's done, and we're going to get into it fairly quickly, okay? Because never enough time to get everything done. Let's do this. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about tabletop role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and it's not a witch, it's a hag. Maybe she's in disguise. The Night Hag. The Night Hag is one of those monsters or creatures that really needs a bit of work, in my opinion. I've found it to be one of the few monsters in its current form in the Monster Manual that's actually not too bad. To be fair, it's actually worked the way that it's supposed to work, which I find amazing. Maybe I got lucky, but I've used it a few times. So yeah, I haven't had to do a lot of adjustment to it. So I feel like this is going to be fine tweaking today rather than a huge amount of adjustment and fixing. I do have a document ready to go, which I will share with you. And we're going to go through this thing and work our way through it until we're finished. That's the plan for today. Hello, Fred Huber. Fred Huber is a patron. Thanks for being here. I see you were talking about Night Hag motto and darkness and so forth. We're going to get back to that because I already had a thought about the type of vision that a Night Hag might have, which I think should be different to other creatures and monsters in your game. So for sure. So let me at least first share the document that I have with you, because I have started the process. I've trucked in a few things. Okay, here is our Night Hag. This Night Hag basically is it's a challenge rating 5. I'm not going to change the challenge rating. I'm just going to fix this thing. I think that's what we really want to do, is try to fix how the Night Hag operates and works, rather than try to get too silly with other things. So if we stay with challenge rating 5, what are our numbers looking like and what do we need to adjust? And I'm going to say the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the Night Hag is, why do I have no saving throws? But we're going to go right back to the maths. When I do this, usually I start with maths, so that's what I'm going to do. So I've got the Dungeon Master Guide. Now, as you might have guessed, I have stopped using the Monster Manual for 5e as a guide for how monsters are built, because it's clear that everything is all over the place, and whatever's going on with the design is not quite right. And when I was doing the beta and alpha play testing for these monsters, I wish I had had the time to sit down and crunch every single monster and had a good understanding. It's taken me 10 years. I feel like I'm confident enough. Well, actually, that's 12 years. Well, it's be 10, 11, 12, beta, alpha, and then the release. It's about, it's more than 10 years. It'll be at least 12 years probably now. Anyway, so challenge rating 5. So we should have a proficiency bonus of a +3, which is fine. That's good. And its armor class should really be sitting at a 15, sorry. So challenge rating 5, 15, and yet it's a 17. I'm pretty sure it starts off with quite a high armor class. Now you could say that's natural armor from magic or whatever else it is. I'm going to say we need to tone that down just a teeny weeny bit. I'm not going to put 15. One point above or below the indicated numbers for your challenge rating is usually a good place to be. Otherwise, if you start moving those numbers around too much, I think the most common thing you find happening is that there's almost no point worrying about challenge rating at that point because you've moved it too far from where it was. And I know there's the argument, yes, but you have challenge rating that's for offensive or attacking, and you have defensive challenge rating, and then you could put that together and that gives you a true challenge rating. It's a load of bollocks. It's all bullshit, frankly. So don't even bother going down that route. You will find only crying and despair as you try to work out what is going on. So we're going to get rid of the 17. I'm going to make it a 16. Okay, and I don't often depower the armor class of a monster, but this time, yes, I am. I'm changing it up only 1 point rather than 2. Now, its average hit points are 112. Okay, so somehow I made a mistake and put a 15 here. So 112. Let's move that. Have I got the correct numbers? I've got 15, 8, 45. Okay, so that should mean I get a maximum. Where's my calculator? That's my calculator. So the maximum hit points for this should be 15 times 8 equals this, 120. And then if I take that number and add the 45, which is fine, we get 165. Okay. That's our maximum hit points. Is that in the bandwidth for where we should be on our table or chart? Now, to be fair, this table and chart is not always very accurate. Okay, I'll make that clear now. This table is sometimes out of whack. It probably needs a refix as well. So it actually is well above. You know, we should be sitting between 131 and 145 hit points. So it's got quite a few. I've almost always found that the Night Hag has been able to escape to the ethereal plane before it's been killed, almost every single time, and that's with average hit points. So I would be inclined to do depower this monster just a little bit. I know that sounds strange, people. So I'm going to depower the hit points a little bit. Not by much. I think we'll go with 13 times 8. Okay, and then we get that. And then we add our 45 plus 45. No, it's not plus 45 because it'll be different because of the number of dice we're using. So it would be 13 multiplied by 8 equals that. No. Try again. Get rid of that number. No. 13 multiplied by 8 equals 104. Okay, so that's where we are at present. And then we take 13 and multiply that by the con modifier. Don't we? We go 13 times 3. We get 39. So if we add 39 to 104 plus 104, we get 143. That's much more in line with where I would think you would have your monster. Between 131 and 145. Much more like what we want. So this is probably the smart way to go. So I'll do that. And that'll be a 39. That means I've got to just rejiggy some numbers here. This would be a maximum of 143, which then means the average is going to change and go down. How often do I readjust hit points and make them go down? It's not that often. Okay, so 13 multiplied by the average, which is 4.5 of 8. It's that plus 39. It's 97. Yeah, okay, 97. Okay, I think that's probably more in line with where we need to aim. Not worried about the speed, and frankly, I'm not terribly worried about the all of the different ability scores, except for one. Its main spell casting ability is Charisma, and this is a challenge rating 5 monster. And with a challenge rating 5 monster, the players are probably going to have a modifier for themselves of greater than 16. They're probably going to have an 18. So this Night Hag is actually weaker than our player characters would be. And you could say, well, that's because, you know, the idea is that the players are going to have an advantage. I'm not really sold on that as a good enough reason for doing something like this. So I'm actually going to change the 16, because it used to be a 16, but it ain't going to stay a 16. It's going to an 18, because most level 5 characters will have at least an 18 in their primary attack bonus or ability score. So no to the 16. That's not good enough. If anything, we should be going higher or exactly the same. I'm going to go with just exactly the same. I'm fine with that. It's only a challenge rating 5 monster. It doesn't need to have a 20 necessarily. So that means that's a 4, which means our deception will be 3 plus 4 is, I believe that's 3 plus 4, isn't it? Yeah, it's a 7 for deception. Sounds right. Insight, wisdom, that, and 3, that. Now wisdom is plus 2. Why am I getting different numbers here if I'm not plugged in the right numbers? Insight. I'm pretty sure insight is wisdom. So why is that a 6? Is it been calculated incorrectly, or are they adding in something else that I'm not paying attention to? I'm pretty sure, yeah. So the numbers on it are wrong, right? Perception plus 2 plus that should be a plus 5. So there's actually an error in their maths. How's that possible? They've added something on that we didn't know about. Okay, so this should be not a stealth of 6, but for 5. There we go. They've not got expertise. And this should be a 5 as well. I'm pretty sure on insight is wisdom, so that should be a 5. So 3 plus wisdom 2. Here we go. So that's where our numbers should be sitting right now. As for being, damage resistance to cold fire, I'm not a fan of damage resistance, but fine, let's do that. They're also resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't silvered. This always confuses the shit out of me and my players, so this is how I'm going to reword it. Bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks, so non-magical or silvered weapons. Now, if you look at how 5e works, it does state, if you look in the rules, that all magic items are considered to be silvered. But a lot of people miss that point. So I'm just going to put that down, okay? You can use a silvered weapon. You can use a... did I write that down right? Aren't. Okay, so yeah. Or weapons that haven't been silvered. Okay, that's better. Okay, so we've got that done. So we understand how that works. I did mention saving throws. Like every single player has at least 2 saving throws, and yet how is it that this Night Hag has no such saving throws whatsoever? Have we decided that all of their bonuses to their ability scores are good enough that they don't need to have anything like that? I find that very strange. We're going to come back to that, okay? Damage immunities, charmed, fine, I have no issue with that. Is there anything else we should add? We'll come back to that and you can tell me if there is. I don't know that there's anything that sort of stands out to me right now, but if I have a look at the conditions, what was I thinking? Usually I just go through all the different conditions and just decide which ones need to have something shifted or moved, don't I? So let's have a look at the player's handbook and see if there is something that sort of stands out. And at the back of the book, I will keep going through the maths, by the way, so I will be adjusting attack bonuses and so forth, things like that. I usually do. And I'm just going to put this in here. Hashtag. Is there anything that you think needs changing to the Night Hag? I'm curious what people are thinking might need to be adjusted. There we go. So that was all put in. Next, we need to do some conditions. So let's do the condition stuff. Bum, 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 bum. Back to our document so you can see what's going on. Okay. Glasses is off. I can't read the screen of the glasses and then shift to the book. It doesn't work. My eyes do not adjust that way whatsoever. So I have to take this off since the distance is different. Okay, here we go. So unconscious. No, we don't want to be immune to the unconscious condition. That would be way too much. Stunned. It's not a legendary monster. I don't consider it to be something we need to worry about in terms of that. So we're not going to do that. Restrained. No, I don't think we need to be immune to the restrained condition or the prone condition or even the poison condition. So we're going to leave them all alone. Let's move on a little bit further. Petrified. No, I feel like we should be able to petrify them or paralyze them. Invisibility. No, definitely not. Incapacitated, grappled, frightened. No, do we frighten the night hag? I don't think that frightening a night hag makes much sense to me. So I am going to include the frightened condition. Can you deafen them? Can you blind them? No, I'm not going to add those. But definitely the charm thing and the frightened. No. Frightened. So I'm adding in frightened. As for their dark vision, as the way that dark vision works right now is a problem in that I don't know that just the standard as it is dark vision for the night hag makes a lot of sense. I feel like it should work differently. Passive perception should be a 15. That's incorrect. It hasn't been calculated properly. Abyssal, common, infernal, primordial, all of those in terms of things, I don't really care. That's fine. That's good. I don't mind. All nice. So we'll put that out of the way. Don't need the player's handbook right now. Let's deal with we've got to deal with this. We'll deal with some saving throws. I really do think we need to come back to that. Okay, so magic resistance. The night hag has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. I think that's very appropriate, so we're going to keep that. Innate spell casting. Okay, so this is where we start getting into trouble, frankly. The night hags, innate spell casting ability is charisma. Okay, so that means the attack bonus and the DC may not quite be in line. If we look at our table in the Dungeon Master Guide, you know, this thing that's not terribly useful most of the time, but if we're looking at that and we think about what they actually suggest for a challenge rating 5, what do they come up with? Challenge rating 5, they say, should be a +6 to hit. Challenge rating 5. So our players should be about level 5 when they face this monster. And a night hag is not a solo monster. I wouldn't even say it's a legendary monster. A night hag will usually have lieutenants with him. Not minions, but some sort of... They're going to have some sort of creation they've made, some sort of construct, some sort of evil being or creature or whatever that assists them in some way. I feel like that they would not just venture out on their own. It's a night hag, so there's going to be something else going on. Whether it's convent, you have a cluster of them, like a collection, and there's more than one night hag, or there's other hags with them, or they have a scarecrow golem or something like that. I don't know. You decide. And it also says the DC should be 15, and we've got a 14 here. So the attack bonus, is the attack bonus correct though? If you're level 5, you probably have an 18 in your primary attack. If you took a feat, tough shit. But if you didn't, and you took the ability increase, which you probably should be doing, you will have an 18 when you're a level 5. Okay, so that means +4. And then your proficiency bonus, which is +3. So that means they're attacking with a +7. That means that the table in the Dungeon Master Guide is kind of out. I would push it up to a 7. I have found it is much... Look, even martial classes can push that +7 up even higher. If you go and take, your archer fighting style, you can have a +9 to attack with an arrow, right? That's pretty good. It's significantly better. And if you're a martial class, there's so many different ways that you can get advantage. You've got the Battle Master can add their dice to dice rolls, attacks and so forth, depending on what they pick to do. You're going to get advantage easily. You can get a +1 out of somewhere to add to this. They're probably not going to have a +7. They're probably going to have at least a +8. And that's without a magic weapon. So, what about the DC? Is the DC in line? So, we go 8, which is your normal calculation. Then add in your ability modifier, which is a 4, which comes to 12. And then we add in what is 3 for the proficiency. So that's 15. So this 14 should really be a 15. That's how I would view your maths for your monster. Do not put them below the player characters. Either line them up so that what they do in terms of their numbers for DCs and attacks is on par with the player characters, or it's bigger or better. Because really, a Night Hag should not be a pushover. Night Hag should not be getting killed left, right, and centre. They are really good at escaping and messing with your head, and doing so when it's dark and you're asleep. So let's make them scary. Okay, all right. So she can innately cast the following spells requiring no components, no material components. Now I like that idea that she doesn't have to use material components. But is it really going to make any difference in this case? Probably not. She's got a very small selection of spells for essentially what is a witch. A hag is essentially a witch. You've got a claw attack, you've got change shape, etherealness, and you've got the nightmare haunting stuff, which is kind of pretty powerful actually, as I've discovered. So she's got a few things she can do. But the problem is her spell selection is kind of shite. Has anybody noticed that? I've noticed it. I think it's not good enough. I think we need to give them a lot more. So how many spells at the bare minimum should we really be giving our hag so that they can actually do something in the battle without making them so difficult to run for players to deal with and for game masters to run? You don't want to make it too complicated, right? So, oh, I see there's no sort of feedback so far. Everybody's very quiet today. Okay, that's all right. So I'm going to put forward a suggestion that we at least power our hag like a wizard in terms of the number of spells they have access to. So for a wizard, so at level 5, what sort of spells are we looking at? Well, we've got a bunch of cantrips. I would say we need to, if you're going to have cantrips that are at will on a monster stat block, do not give them stuff that isn't combat related, because we can add anything that isn't combat related. It's kind of like a waste of space. The stat block itself, if we're getting to the stat block, there's usually a fight taking place, right? So why do we just mess around that way? Don't do that to yourself. Just add in the fact that you need to have a certain number. So in at will, let's basically say that's a cantrip or a first level spell. So these are first level spells. We should have a lot more that we can cast. Okay, a wizard at level 5 gets 4 cantrips. Those should at least be something that we put in there. And we've got nothing like that. They get 4 spells at first level, which of course, and then they get second level spells and third level spells. So it's kind of weird the way that it's been structured and worked out. I would take sleep here, which is an extremely strong spell. Cut that, and it should really belong here. I have no idea why they decided they would put it here and say you can't use it at will. Why are we bothering with magic missile? Magic missile is no problem. Detect magic. When are you going to use detect magic in the middle of a fight? When you've lost? When you're dead? When the fight is over? More likely when the fight is over. So why would you bother with this? Don't do that sort of thing. So we need at least 4 cantrips in this list. Okay, so 4 bracket, 4 cantrips that would be suitable for a night witch. They really should be around combat rather than fluffing around with other things. We want to have, I would say, let's not dick around too much. Let's make sure we have at least 2 or 3 spells at level 1 that you can cast at will. Okay, so we should have at least another 2 here, I would say. At least the bare minimum of 1 or 2. Plus 1 or 2. And we just need to select the ones that we think would work best and are fitting for a night hag. So that's the first problem to deal with. Next, it's got plane shift, self only. Now the thing with plane shift, why do you need plane shift if you've got the etherealness? The hag magically enters the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. To do so, the hag must have a heartstone in its possession. Well, look, every night hag should have a heartstone. Otherwise, why put it down in the first place if it doesn't have it? So this is kind of silly. Dear. Okay, we're going to rewrite this a little bit, but we'll get back to that in a second, because that's kind of stupid. We need to make some adjustments. Now, our attack bonus is actually correct on here. The claws and the hag form only, melee attack, da-da-da. The amount of damage we do, though, is pretty poor. Okay, let's get back to our spells, though. Ray of Enfeeblement. I have no problem with the spell Ray of Enfeeblement. What I have a problem with is the fact that you've only got Ray of Enfeeblement, which is an attacking spell, is the only other thing that you can really do with your spells. It's literally basically a witch, and there's nothing else there. How did that happen? Did they just forget? They were working on this project and then suddenly somebody said, oh, okay, that's enough spells, that'll do. I don't know what's going on here. So level 5 character, how many spells would a wizard actually have? More than likely, probably about 9, okay? Now with our at-will things, we're going to have maybe 4 spells here that are first level, and 4 cantrips, because that seems reasonable for the fact that they are level 5, and we want them to be in line with that. Okay, so that's fine. So we should at least have 5 spells here. We're not counting the cantrips. I would say that we should probably have at least 5 spells that we can cast 2 times a day each. Whether that's plane shift or something else, Ray of Enfeeblement, there should be at least another +3 spells going on here. What level are they? I'm going to suggest that probably let's aim for... It's clear that plane shift is a much higher level spell. Ray Enfeeblement is a good spell, but we should have at least 2nd level and 3rd level. 2nd level and 3rd level. Okay, and we need to have at least 3 of these things. And we don't. And they really need to be useful in a battle, in a fight, because it's the only time you really use a stat block, is when there's a fight. Okay. So if we go through and have a look at the sorts of spells that you can access at level 1 and at level as a cantrip, what can we transpose into our spellcaster that would make sense? Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Wizard Warlock. I think those are probably good places to look. I think possibly Chill Touch would be a good cantrip to include. It feels very witchy. Okay, so Chill Touch. Necrotic Energy, it's a good cantrip to have access to. If you ever get a chance to use it, that is. What else? Firebolt. I can see that being used. Next, sorry, I got a bit of gas. Firebolt. What else might there be that you would probably have access to that makes sense? I would kind of be tempted to give them Prestidigitation, but it's really not an attack spell, so you're wasting your time. I would be inclined to give them Ray of Frost. I'm even tempted to give them Eldritch Blast, because I feel like a hag is more of a warlock than it is a witch or a well, it sort of feels like a witch or a warlock would have Eldritch Blast. I've been tempted to give them Eldritch Blast, frankly. And I'm being tempted to give them Ray of Frost. I can't think of anything as a... Actually, Mage Hand, still not really an attack spell. It's not really going to come up. I wouldn't worry about it. Minor Illusion, I could see that being used in combat. We could put that in. I feel like they are about trickery, so let's go Minor Illusion. And let's give them Eldritch Blast. Okay, there's 4 cantrips. If anybody comes up with better ideas for cantrips, you let me know. I will certainly consider them. We need to put in one more level 1 spell. I honestly think there should be at least 1, possibly 2 in here that they can use at will. So you've got a few things you can play with. And the first thing that comes to mind is it should be shield. Because every single caster that the player is every time they want to get a player caster, they're trying to get access to shield. So I would put shield in there. Okay. So that they can actually counter some of the stuff that's incoming. Alright. Magic Missile, shield, sleep. And then we have Chill Touch and Eldritch Blast, Firebolt, Minor Illusion. I feel like those are reasonable sort of staples for this. If anybody comes up with another one, you let me know. But I think that's a reasonable complement in terms of at-will spells. Okay? You're probably never going to get to these. You're probably never going to get to use them, but at least they're there as an option if you want to use them. Okay? They're not off the cards. All right, Firebolt. Let's just keep Bolt. Minor Illusion. It's all lowercase, isn't it? I forgot about the conventions. Conventions of the stat block. Okay. Okay, so there's our at-will spells. Next, we need to get in at least 3 spells that are level 2, level 3. I'm inclined to give them Fireball because the players are probably going to have Fireball. Is it a very witchy sort of thing? Evard's Tentacles is, but I don't think it's a level 3 spell, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure Evard's Tentacles is a level 4 spell. Plane Shift is quite a high level spell, but this Plane Shift is primarily, it's designed just for them, so maybe that works. Ray of Enfeeblement, which of course has changed now with the new rules. Contact other plane. I feel like there should be some sort of summoning. There should be a spell where they can summon something. They can bring something to their aid. And they don't really have anything that does that. There's the haunting thing, ethereal, they can change their form, but they can't summon a sodding thing. Fireball. We should have at least another one as far as I'm concerned. So that's another two. Self, Plane Shift. Really, that's just an escape plan, a Plane Shift. If you want to just, whoop, I've got to get out of here, you can. But again, the ethereal option kind of does what you need to do. You don't really need to worry too much about that sort of stuff. I guess the concept is that all the hags travel the multiverse, collecting souls and doing deals with the devils. So that they are the soul traders, basically, right? Which is probably why they've included the Plane Shift, but it's still useful for them to escape with. So we're not going to take it away. It's just what else do we add? That's a good question. Okay, all right, so I'm going to keep moving. Sorry, people, I didn't show you so this is what I've been mucking around. I've put in some different at-will spells. I've included Fireball. We need to include 2 more that they can cast twice a day each, okay? So that they got a little bit more to play with. Otherwise, it's gonna suck. You should really be leading with these spells first. You shouldn't be playing around with the at-will spells because they're just not going to be as good. Okay, all right. I'm doing all right for time, which is great. Let's tidy up some of the maths on here. I believe the claws, if you're going to use the claw attack, it really makes no point. I don't see why you would even consider it if all it's going to do is 13 points of damage. You'll never use it. The only time you would use it is an opportunity attack, correct? I never used them. I never bothered using the claws at all. I just cast spells. If I wasn't casting spells, I'd be using one of their special abilities. So the claws are kind of like junk. We could even take them completely off and just say they never use them, or we need to beef up the damage that they do. Or we need to give them multi-attack with the claws, which actually would make far more sense to just give them multi-attack with the claws so they can do more than one attack when it would be appropriate to do so. That would be my suggestion. So maybe that's what we'll do. Let's have a look at what chat is doing. Sorry, people. God, it's really quiet today. Everybody is just watching and listening. Okay, all right. Let me keep going then. Since that's the case, I didn't realize that was going to be how it was going to work today. But I am going to just go through and do the maths on the damage for this. Okay. I think what we'll do is we're definitely going to do multi-attack rather than one attack where there's a chance they could miss and then they do nothing. It's better to have two attacks rather than one, because two attacks would be potentially 26 points of damage, and we really need to be hitting in the 33 to 38 range for a challenge rating 5. It's not quite high enough, but I feel like we can probably adjust this a little bit. I have no idea how they figured out the claws attack. I've got no idea what they were thinking, because look at this, how this has worked. Their strength is a +4. They've gone with 2d8. Like, clearly they weren't worried about the claws being representative of, little daggers. Otherwise they would be using d4s. So the number here really means nothing to us, doesn't it? It's completely pointless to us. The only thing that matters is the total average damage that we're doing. So let's do a multi-attack. And I might just pull in a multi-attack from somewhere else. I can't remember who has one. Let's pull up another one. Let's just do another tab. Bum 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 bum. Night Hag. I know, not Night Hag. What is the something that has a multi-attack of some kind? What would it be? Is it animated armor? I can't remember if it did. Whoops, animated. It's probably not going to give me anything. Animated armor. Oh, I've got to spell it American way, don't I? Let's try that again. Animated armor. Does it have multi-attack? It probably doesn't. Yes, it does. It does. Here we go. So we're going to take our multi-attack here. We're going to transpose it over to here and paste. We're going to go bold, and the Night Hag makes 2 claw attacks. Claw attacks. Okay, so now multi-attack. The claws are actually got a purpose to them. Otherwise, they don't. Next, the damage output, still 26, still not high enough. Part of that reason is probably because we're using a D8. We could go up to a D10, and that would change our maths just a smidgen. Would it be enough, though? Because a D8, it's really only another 1 point of damage, isn't it? It's really not going to be sufficient. We need to push it up by another at least 7 points. So it would have to be a D12. That kind of seems pointless too. 4.5 times 2 for a D8 would give me 9. If I go to a 6-sided dice, which is 3.5, no, it's still not going to work. So we're just going to push this up to 3d8 and see if that works. Okay, so if I do one attack, 3d8, which is 4.5 multiplied by 3, gives me that number. Add 4, that's 17. Okay, so we're doing 17 points of damage on average. Is 17, if I multiply that by 2, getting 2 attacks, 35. Is that more in line? Yeah, it is. So that probably solves the problem. So that would be a 17. Yeah, because we need to be hitting between 33 and 35, and that's going to give us about 34 points damage, which is just where we needed to be. So that's fixed. Claws working fine now. They'll do their job. Next, shape shifting or shape change. The HAG, the Night HAG magically polymorphs into a small or medium female humanoid, or back into her true form. Okay. Her statistics are the same in each form. Any equipment she is wearing or carrying isn't transformed. She reverts to a true form if she dies. Okay. I'm not sure that I'm worried about this. It would be nice if we could polymorph her into something else other than just another female humanoid. But I think that still works to a certain degree. She can still be devious and get up to mischief. Let's look at the Nightmare Haunting once a day. Now, the Nightmare Haunting feature, I've always found this to be relatively effective at what it's supposed to do, so we probably won't have to do very much to it. Okay, it's probably one of the things that my players have found to be screws them up more than anything else. So, Nightmare Haunting. While in the ethereal plane, the HAG magically touches a sleeping humanoid on the material plane. Understood. A protection from evil and good spell cast on the target prevents this contact, as does a magic circle. Okay, understood. As long as the contact persists, the target has dreadful visions. If these visions last for at least 1 hour, the target gains no benefit from its rest, and its hit point maximum is reduced by 5 on average. You roll a d10. If this effect reduces the target's hit points maximum to 0, the target dies. And if the target was evil, its soul is trapped in the HAG's soul bag. The reduction to the target's hit point maximum lasts until removed by the Greater Restoration spell or similar magic. You'll notice there's no DC for this. And this is why this feature works so well. As soon as you remove something, like having contact with somebody who's sleeping for an hour, is not that difficult for a Night HAG to do. But they can only do it once a day. So the chances are, unless you're dealing with a level 1 character, even a level 1 character is probably not going to die straight away. But it's an annoyance. It's definitely an annoyance. I don't think I want to change anything with the Nightmare Haunting feature. I keep thinking about it, and every time I've used it, it's worked brilliantly. Just because there's no DC to worry about. It just works. So, well done, Wizards of the Coast. Don't say that often, but yeah, you did a good job there. Next, etherealness. The HAG magically enters the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. To do so, the HAG must have a heartstone in her possession. Now, one of the problems I've found with etherealness is it's a battle between, because these are all actions, you have to choose whether you use it or not. And I'd played around with the idea of allowing it to do this as a bonus action. I don't like adding bonus actions to monsters, so it won't happen, trust me. But I had considered doing that. But then I realized that then the HAG could go into the material plane, would be in the material plane, come out into the ethereal plane, do something, and then the next turn go back. And that might be just a tiny wee bit of a problem. Magic HAG enters ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa, or to do so must have a heartstone in her possession. The HAG. The hag has a heartstone in her possession to do this. End of the story. Okay. All right. So we're going to do that. So I guess for me, yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how that's going to work. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to think a little bit about that. I need to get back to spells. I don't know why this is doing this night. Magically, yes. We still need to get a couple more spells that are levels 2 and level 3 to go into its repertoire here. Otherwise, it's really not doing very much. So I need to have a think about that now, don't I? Okay, let's do that. Let's grab our spell box option. We're dealing with a witchy poo, really. Hag witch, level 2, level 3. What would be suitable? So we're going to start with wizards, and then we're going to move on and have a look at what they have for the warlock as well, because I think the warlock might be a good place to go. Cloud of daggers might be an option. That's not a terrible idea. That could work. Cloud of daggers is a complete pain in the ass as a spell for sure. Crown of madness is not that great. Darkness as a spell is a pretty good idea. It's a night hag, so I actually feel like darkness should be here. Casting darkness. Let's put darkness in. So now we only need one more spell. It's a night hag and we can't play and cast darkness. Well, now we can. Level 3 spells. I'm inclined to give them at least Dispel Magic or Counterspell. So that they can counterspell some of the spells that'll be coming through. Now, I know they've got magic resistance, but all of players have counterspell, and yet this particular monster doesn't have counterspell. Flies also seems like a really good idea, but we can't give them everything under the sun. So we're going to have to make some hard choices. Vampiric Touch would be cool. Remove Curse, no. Bestow Curse wouldn't be a bad idea, though. It's basically a hag. I feel like Bestow Curse would be a very sensible thing to apply to this. But Counterspell is another one that I really am very tempted to give them, so they can do at least twice a day. Counterspell. That would mean they have a few more spells than normal, but then we can break the rules with monsters. Counterspell. Yep. I know Wizard of the Coast is not keen on making the a level playing field for monsters and players, but I think we at least do that. So darkness, counterspell, and I just want to see what else we have here in terms of options. Dispel magic, fear, gaseous form. There's so many different spells that you could potentially give to them that would be kind of suitable. What else do we have? So level 2 for wizard, we have blur, no. Got darkness already. Gentle repose, no. Invisibility, no, I don't think so. Misty step might be useful, but I don't say no. Okay, so let's go and look at, I think Cleric has Bestow Curse, don't they? It's a level 3 spell. We're going to give them Bestow Curse. Bestow Curse. I know Bestow Curse can be removed very easily. I'm very much aware of this. And I think that is our repertoire of spells for our hag. Now, you're probably not going to get to use them all. You should really be using these ones first. Bestow Curse, Counterspell, Darkness, Fireball, Plane Shift, Ray of Enfeeblement. I'm still not completely sold on Ray of Enfeeblement. Why Ray of Enfeeblement out of all the spells you could have? Is there nothing that we could do that would be better, that would be a haggy-like thing? Okay. Oh, we got some feedback in here now. The chat is fired up again. Here we go. Right. Let me... what spells is the Night Hag missing? Okay, let's have a look. I think a lot of the time basic attacks is only for if for some reason the creature can't do anything else, like maybe they're in a zone of silence. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I would say that's true. Hello, Hypnotic. Also, Fred Huber is a patron, so is Hypnotic. Hello, Negative Space. How you doing? Blarg Corp. We had an encounter with a Night Hag 2 sessions ago in our AD&D first edition game. We were able to rush the creature and destroy it before it was able to get off most of its more terrible powers. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm wondering if maybe it should be able to move back and forth from the ethereal plane a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the things that comes to mind. Is it Caitlin? Caitlin P? Polymorph. Caitlin, I don't think polymorph is a question. I had been leaning in that direction. I was just waiting to see if anybody would say anything. I was very tempted to add polymorph to the repertoire just because it's a hag, it's a witch, it seems to make sense. So yeah, I'm really feeling like I need to do something with the etherealness of this creature, because even if I tie it in some way, you know, I think I should list it as a once per round free action. I can do that. There's nothing stopping me from making it a free action once per round. Not once per turn, but once per round. That means that you'd be in the ethereal plane, you're safe. Okay. On your turn, you pop into the material world, you do your spell, you use your claws, you use your special ability, and you're still stuck there. But next turn, you can cast a spell, do something, and then pop back to the ethereal plane as a free action. So they can't attack you again. They're going to wait until you come back through again. So it means that they're going to wind up having to time it a little bit more. I think that's going to work a lot more. I'm just trying to think if I've ever done that before with a monster. I may have done it with the hag with Curse of Strahd. I may have done that. I think that's what I should do. I think that we should definitely do something like that. Let's do that. Maybe a creature shouldn't deal a lot of damage if the players find a way to null all their special attacks. They can't use them, or they have to run out. Yeah, possibly. She doesn't have polymorph. I think there's enough people who've said polymorph. Time their victims to toads. Yeah, turn them to toads. I agree. Let's put polymorph in there. Let's put polymorph, and let's change the ethereal. I really think that the ethereal being a full-blown action is going to really hamper your ability to use it. So let's go back to our document, which is over here, and switch over so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm not going to get too carried away with polymorph, so I'm going to limit polymorph to... I'm going to get Ray of Enfeeblement. Why Ray of Enfeeblement? Let's just put polymorph there. Polymorph. Much better spell. Polymorph. You can do it twice a day. You're never going to get to use it more than that anyway. Trust me. Your hag is either going to have to escape or it's dead. So that's fine. So let's put polymorph in there. Bestow curse. Counterspell, so they can't do magic on you. If you can counterspell it, it's always nice. Darkness, because it's a night hag. Fireball, because it's just a really good spell, and burning people is always nice and fun. I mean, in fantasy games, not in real life. Plane shift, so it can escape. Polymorph, so you can transform to something wicked and nasty, like a T-Rex or something. I don't know, whatever it is. A small T-Rex. I don't know. A smallish King Kong. Whatever it might be. You transform, or you decide to transform somebody else into something horrible. That would be fun too. Yeah? Okay. We'll keep the at-will spells at Magic Missile, which I think will be your go-to for most things. Your shield. Sleep, because sleep is a really good spell, and at low level it's going to mess up low level characters. Chill touch, because it feels appropriate. Eldritch Blast, because I feel like a female warlock is kind of like a witch, so and she feels like a witch, so we're going to give her Eldritch Blast, Firebolt, Minor Illusion, so she can mess with things. I have put in a lot of attack spells. There are one defensive spell. No, 2 defensive spells. Sleep is not an attack spell. It's a defensive spell. 2 defensive spells, 1 mess with you spell, and the rest are just do damage. But you have some choices. And I like it when Game Masters have choices. So that's what we'll do. Okay, dark vision is going to be a problem. We're going to have to do something with the dark vision. They got to be able to see through magical darkness, frankly. I don't think we can just have normal dark vision. And we need to give them some saving throws. I don't think leaving this HAG with no proficiencies in any of their saving throws is a very good idea. I think that's a terrible idea. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Let's just add in here Dex. Oops. And I need to change the ethereal ability as well, don't I? Dex is going to be a plus. So it's +2 for the modifier. It'll be +5. And then we got wisdom. Let's do the wisdom. Wisdom +2, 3, +5. Okay, so we've got 2. We haven't given them saving throws right across the board. We've just helped support their lower numbers, okay, and made them a little bit better at them. Wisdom, dexterity. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering if I should do the charisma. Charisma would wind up being a +7. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this is a first draft as far as I'm concerned. If it winds up being broken when I test it again, I'll just change it. That's fine. Got to break a few eggs anyway along the way. Superior dark vision. Is there in the monster manual a reference to superior dark vision? I don't think there is. Superior dark vision, 120 feet. So I then have to, do I have to define it? I probably do. How do I do that? Doesn't like the way I've worded that. That's fine. We'll move that out of the way. Superior dark vision. We have to define it, I'm pretty sure. I don't believe that there is anything currently in the monster manual referring to a superior dark vision. It's blind sight, but I don't want to give them blind sight. They do have eyes, but I don't think that there's, yeah. And I don't want to give them true, do I want to give them true sight? They mess with the ethereal plane. What does true sight do again? I've given quite a few monsters that used to have dark vision, true sight. You know, dragons, I thought that was appropriate. There are a couple of others as well. Yeah, there's blind sight. There's no superior dark vision. There's tremor sense. I don't think that's appropriate. True sight basically says a monster with true sight can, out to a specific range, see in normal and magical darkness. Well, that covers the magical darkness. See invisible creatures. I can live with that. And objects. Automatically detect visual illusions and succeed on saving throws against them. Okay. Perceive the original form of a shape changer or creature that is transformed by magic. Furthermore, the monster can see in the ethereal plane within the same... Yeah, there you go. There we go. I think it's pretty clear now. After reading it out, it shouldn't be dark vision. Shouldn't be superior. It's true sight. Yeah, that's what it is. Good luck sneaking up on that that witch is not going to be sneaking up on. No, not going to happen. I think that works much better. So it's not going to be affected by its own darkness when it drops it. Everybody else will be. Good. Next, let's get the etherealness sorted out. And let's put here once per round. It's a free action. And bracket. So that means I've got to take it out of this area. I'm going to put it somewhere else. No, free round. So where would we put this? We have actions, I guess underneath. Let's just take that and go copy. Go down, 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 underneath it. Paste. I don't know what's going on here. So do that. Make that free action. That's a Fred action, sorry. Maybe it is a, ooh, still not a Fred action. Free action. There we go. And then I'm a little bit lost as to what I'm doing here, but just give me a second, people. I'll figure it out. It's just a bit of formatting issues. Let's take that. Let's go cut. Let's go here. Paste. Paste. Up. Down. And around and around. And there it is. We take this feature and we'll drop it down underneath. Cut. Move it up. Free action. I think that's going to work significantly better than what was going on before. Just because otherwise you're never going to get anything off. As somebody has already pointed out, it's very easy. 5e, you know, night hags. I'm sure I must have done something rinky-dinky with the etherealness. I think this is going to be a better solution to it. Because you're never going to be able to make anything work. If it's everything's in action, just how do you actually get them to work? It's not going to happen. I don't want to give it no legendary actions, shape changing, small humanoid. The shape changing thing is probably not going to come up very often. It can be an action. It doesn't really matter. Got multi-attack. Let's drop this down. Get rid of this. Okay, all right, let's go back and see what people have to say in the chat. I'm kind of curious. And then we'll see if this is the completion of the first draft. Dun, dun, dun. I wish the monster had better escape spells. I think now Ethereal has essentially got an innate escape ability. So I think we've kind of covered that. We don't need to worry about the escape spells. The plane shift is a good option. You can go pretty much anywhere. But jumping back and forth from the material plane to the ethereal plane as a free action once per round will give you the ability to sort of at least avoid some of the incoming attacks. I think that'll be at least partly useful. Maybe she could have a spell that turns into a bunch of bats. I still want to be able to conjure something. I really do. What spell can I give her? Or I think we just give her there must be either a spell or a feature we can make where she conjures something to help her. Maybe she could have a spell that she turns into a bunch of bats and then her face and da. Okay, see what you're going with this. It's only one bat left. The spell ends and they appear. I don't want to make it complicated. I don't like reactions, so I'm trying to think of things that would avoid doing that. But hashtag what summon or conjure spell should the night hag have? There's got to be something, right? Hello. Oh, what happened there, Cal-Rel? Maybe better escape spells. I mean, more variety or options. I think the ethereal feature as a free action once per round is pretty much solved that problem. You could decide not to go back to the material world, just stay in the ethereal world. If you want to bug out and keep your night hag for another day, it will happen. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go. I think that's, but I need a spell, don't I? I need something that she can summon something with. And I think that's probably the extent about what we need to do with it. I don't think we need to do anything else after that. I think that will be enough. So yeah, let's go down, 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 down. We just need one more spell, and I think we make it twice a day as a thing that you can do. So summon and conjure. Let's have a look at the summon spells and the conjure spells. There must be something that she can use that would be suitable. Summoning, summoning, S, plain shift, already got that. Summon. No, no, no. Summon. Here we go. Summon, 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 summon. Are there no summoning spells? Are they all conjuring spells? Conjure, not summon. I thought there were at least some summoning spells, but apparently there aren't. It must be under conjuring. Conjuring. Oh, God. When I play spellcasters, I don't usually conjure or summon anything. I know it's a pain in the butt for the dungeon master, so I just avoid it. It just puts too many things on the battlefield, but for our monster, we probably want to be doing that. Create undead is not what we want. Contagion. Conjure volley. Conjure woodland beings. Contact other planes. Conjure minor elemental. Conjure fey. Okay. So we do have conjure fey, conjure minor elemental, conjure woodland beings, conjure elemental, conjure celestial, conjure animals. What is she? She's a fiend. Oh, okay. That's an interesting. Maybe it's the fey, conjure fey. What's conjure fey? What do we get out of conjure fey? You summon a fey creature of challenge rating 6 or lower. Oh, good lord, it's a very powerful spell. Or a fey spirit that takes the form of a beast or of challenge rating 6 or lower. It appears in unoccupied space. The fey creature disappears when it drops to 0 hit points and when the spell ends. So that would be for fey creatures. Conjure woodland beings gives you access to what? Fey creatures, basically. 1, 2, 4, 8. It's really like conjure fey, frankly, but they're smaller challenge rating. Conjure fey may be the way to go. Let's keep going. What else do we have? Conjure minor elementals. It's not really that suitable for what we're looking for, even though it's not a bad idea. Conjure elemental. Conjure minor elementals. Conjure celestial. I don't feel like conjure animal makes any sense. Summon a celestial of challenge rating 4 or lower, which appears in an unoccupied space. You can see within. It's on the wrong spectrum, isn't it? If we're going to summon anything, it should be a fiend, not a celestial. And it is a 7th level spell. What else? Right now here, I'm just thinking conjure woodland beings is probably the way to go. But that's really just producing what? What do we have? What do we have that are fey in the monster manual rather than fiend? No. Let's go fey. Fey type, challenge rating, fey size, environment, beast, fey. Here we go. Filter the lot. Just give me everything. Hags, legacy, fey. Challenge rating. We can put the range for the challenge rating in. So challenge rating 2 or lower. between 2 and 8. Okay, let's do that. Let's see if that works. What do we get? We would be able to get a blink dog. Blink dog's not a bad idea. A boggle. Okay, a boggle. Brignac. A darkling. Darklings. More darklings. Dryad. Fury Beast. Okay. Giant ram. Grinning cat. A Minlock. None of this really sort of sings to me. A mite. A Nilbog. Pixie. Sata. Shadow kind of works. Shadow's actually not a terrible idea. Let's keep going. See HAG. Yeah, conjure woodland beings might be a reasonable solution there. I don't know if it's the best thing that quite fits. Even though the Night Hag is a fiend, I don't believe that it has a lot of control necessarily over fiends itself. It's probably more in the Fey realm. Fey, conjure woodland beings is probably more in line with that. Okay, let's have a look at chat before I decide to put it in, but I think that's the solution. Charm of making. You speak the ancient word of creation, weaving a powerful incantation that making you cast spells without material. It's already got that ability. Hello, wizards and warp drives. You're off to bed, negative space? No problems. I'll see you later. Yeah, I think we're going to give them conjure woodland beings. I think that's probably the best option. I wouldn't say it's a perfect solution, but I think it's better than the other things they had before. So yeah, let's do that. Let's give them conjure woodland beings twice a day, so that they can summon something. That conjure, and where is it? No, I've lost my page again. Give me a second. Conjure woodland beings. Conjure elemental, conjure fey. I don't want to pull in a challenge rating that's higher than her. That would be silly. So it's got to have to be conjure, this one. Yeah, it's going to be here. Conjure woodland beings. Oops. Counterspell darkness. Yes, let's put them there. Beings twice a day. You've got plenty to play with now. Plenty of options. Plenty of things you can do. And we've got a free action at the bottom. Let's just check through all this. I think I've got it all done. I think it's a done deal. Okay. All right. Let's have a quick review to see what I have changed. Just to make sure that I've got it all lined up, but I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. The Night Hag. We remastered it. We made some adjustments to try to fix some of the problems that I saw with this. I don't think this is a terrible stat block that's in the monster manual for 5e, so the changes are pretty minor, really, in my opinion. The armor class, I thought at 17 was a little bit high. I've dropped it down to 16. For challenge rating 5, a 15 is probably good enough. So I think that's cool. I actually dropped down the hit points from where they were. I believe it had 112 hit points on average. It's now down to 97. And of course, I would recommend using the maximum hit points, particularly with power gamers. My group are full of power gamers, so I have to use that sort of thing. Didn't change the speed. I did change the ability scores. Only one, charisma. Instead of being a 16, it is now an 18, and I gave it a +4 modifier, of course. I gave it some saving throws because it had none No such thing. No saving throws whatsoever. So saving throw for dexterity, proficiency is +5. Wisdom is a +5. Charisma is a +7. Deception, the number was fine for +7, was good. The problem is somehow they've miscalculated the insight and the perception and the stealth. So I adjusted them. I believe they were 6 before. Now they are back to where they should be, which is a 5. You know, you get a modifier of 2, add 3, you get 5, not 6. I have changed damage resistance very little. Cold and fire is still there, but bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks or a weapon that hasn't been silvered. So silver weapons and magical weapons can get through this damage resistance. Okay, I'm fine with that too. I've added frightened as a condition immunity because it only had charmed before. I don't think you should be able to frighten a night hag. It doesn't make sense. They're frightening themselves. Senses. It had dark vision at 120 feet. And I looked at how dark vision works, and I had a look at how true sight worked, and I think it was much better to have true sight. So it's got a true sight 120 feet. Okay, passive perception was a 16, which is a miscalculation. It should actually be a 15, so I've remodified that. Languages is the same, challenge rating the same, proficiency is all good. Magic resistance, fine with that. I did change the DCs, which were way too low. The attack bonus is a +7, much more appropriate for a challenge rating 5 monster, frankly. And if you're playing up against challenge characters of level 5, you're going to do this. Your DC is a 15. I've made it go up from a 14 to a 15. And I think it had a 6 as its modifier. It's actually a 7 because I've pushed that up as well. Its spell repertoire was garbage. So I've kept the magic missile. I've given it shield. Sleep, I think, is a good spell. Chill touch, Eldritch Blast, Firebolt, Minor Illusion. Those are all at wills. You can do them as many times as you like. You probably shouldn't be using those spells, though, people. You can do these spells twice a day each. Bestow Curse. Didn't have Bestow's Curse, now it does. Conjure Woodland Beings. I've given it that one. Counterspell. Didn't have that. Didn't have Darkness. Given it Darkness. Didn't have Fireball. Gave it that. It had Plane Shift on itself. I have no problem with that. The Ray of Enfeeblement, I think, is ridiculous. I gave it Polymorph instead. So it can transform itself and others into something. I gave it multi-attack with the claws because the claw attack was just, why would you even bother using it? With the claws, the attack bonus was actually spot on, surprisingly. The damage I changed. Instead of being 2d8 plus 4, it's actually 3d8. So you get an average of, instead of, I think it was 13, now it's 17. Yep, I think that's right. Change shape. I had no problems with change shape. I actually think change shape works perfectly fine the way it is, although I don't really think it's like a combat feature. You really won't use it out anytime you use it, it's going to be outside of combat, so it really doesn't mean anything. Nightmare Haunting. Nightmare Haunting has no saving throw, and the way it's written and structured I think is perfect. I don't think it needed adjustment at all, so I won't mess with it. I did change etherealness. One of the problems is that etherealness was an action to use. So you could transport yourself from the ethereal plane to the material plane, or from the material plane to the ethereal plane. But it was an action. It also stated that the hag had to have a heartstone in its possession. I've just stated that the hag does have a heartstone, and rather than if it has a heartstone. That's confusing. I've also changed it to a free action you can do once per round. It's not a bonus action. It's not a reaction. It's just a free action once per round that you can do. This allows you to travel from the ethereal plane to the material plane, cast a spell, do something, okay, and then pop back. So that should be really useful for at least mitigating some of the whack down that appears from your players as they try to beat the night hag to death. And also makes it easier for the night hag to escape and then torture them with the nightmare haunting, because that's what you really want to do, is use that nightmare haunting. And that is the night hag and how I would go about fixing it. I will put this up on Patreon for those of you who are interested, and that's me. I'm a Dunsies. Okay, let's have a quick look at chat, and then I'll disappear and get on with other things. let's end this poll. I don't remember what I'm doing next week. I'm losing my voice. Sorry, people. So it's interesting. I see there are a few people. It's kind of strange how the polls work sometimes. Do you think the Night Hag for Dungeons and Dragons 5e needs fixing? Undecided, 60%. And I can understand that because I don't think there's a lot wrong with the Night Hag. I just think some small tweaks were required, honestly. I mean, I changed a lot of the spell list stuff, but, you know, I mean, I think mathematically and structurally, it's not too bad, really. And I've always found it worked reasonably well. But then again, I can't remember if I played it as written or I made some modifications. So I'm going to have to test this one. Yes, I'm going to test all of them, by the way. Yes, 40% out of 15 votes. Cool. Thank you for that, Cal-Rel and everybody else. I'm going to get moving. And what's the next one I'm going to cover? That's a good question. I think I was considering doing the Baylor, you know, like the Balrog, the Baylor, as another monster that needed the stat block adjusted and fixed up. The Dragon Turtle has been on my radar as well. But I haven't, I'm still trying to decide whether I think it's the Dragon Turtle that needs to be next, the Baylor. I think the Dragon Turtle will be a big job. I think the Baylor probably less work, but it's still a big stat block, and it's pretty complicated as well. That's not very helpful in many respects. Let's get real. There's rather a lot going on sometimes with that thing. So yeah, I haven't really decided. And if I do, maybe it'll be from your feedback in the chat, and that will, you know, force me to think, okay, I should do this. A couple of other things that were on my radar is the Medusa. I don't like the Medusa the way it is right now, or the Iron Golem. The Iron Golem is a tough monster in 5e, but I still don't know if I like it. The Minotaur is definitely coming up at some point. We're definitely going to do the Troll, the Purple Worm. I'm not really eager to do the Purple Worm because I've run the Purple Worm so many times, and I've never sort of found a way where it runs and works really well, and it's easy to understand. So I haven't figured that one out yet. But anyway, that's where my head is at. That's where I'm probably leading in the future. And yeah, we're going to come back and deal with another monster next week. Anyway, thank you for watching, listening. Thank you to all of my patrons. I do appreciate your time and your energy. I really appreciate everybody who was watching and listening, taking part in the poll. Thank you so much. And all of the patrons, really, without you, I can't keep doing this. And your support is absolutely vital for me actually surviving without doing clickbait videos and talking about stupid fucking news regarding Wizards of the Coast and D&D. The only way that it all works is if you guys support me in Patreon, because it ain't going to happen by AdSense revenue. And I don't do sponsors because they're absolutely nuts, those sponsors. Okay? So thank you so much. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, okay, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.